This is Cornhill, John Raven taking the big plunge. John got all the kids together on those rafts, and he was up front, and they held on to the feet of the person in front. I think we're going to have part of it. And he propelled them around the water. And of course, this is the bay. Again, I worked at Cape Cod as a interpretive ranger for 3 years, and then as an interpretive ranger at the visitor center in the North District up in Provincetown for 3 years, and then I was a fee collection ranger for 3 years. I was there 7 years. I don't know. I had last year I was at there's that raft. There to go, Han Raven and Kimberly, Brad, myself, Patty. I was a fee collecting ranger at the overseeing vehicle station for a couple of years. 1 year I was supervisor of fee collection, but I had an angina attack and I had to have my second heart operation, so that year went down the tube. Val and I went to a friend of hers' wedding, and this was not it. This is John and Fran Barth's wedding at St. Anthony's Church in Prospect. That's Mr. and Mrs. Can't remember the last names. That's Fran's mother. This is in our backyard. It's was Diane and Mrs. Barrett. There's Val. Mrs. Barrett was my sister Ruth, my daughter Pat, our dog Tuffy, and Brad, and me painting Brad, and of course Bruce was sitting at the car painting the house again. It was a beautiful view of the backyard. There's the kids. It was a beautiful place to grow up. Me and Raven's back porch. And it's the front of our house. No, that's the front of our house. Right there. Must have been autumn. Was a shame that I sold it and left for Florida, but we wouldn't have done all the things we did if I hadn't. That's our 31-foot holiday trailer, which we went across country in with Brad and Doug in 1973 maybe. There's Brad fishing. Where, I don't know. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this was on our way home. That's how these got mixed up. In Idaho. That was our truck, GMC crew cab, 454 engine. Got 7 miles to the gallon, no matter what I did. That's yours truly again. A little bit older, there's our friend Doug. And there's some elk. And this is Yellowstone, I think. Something happened to the film. That's Val. In high grass or something. Here's Brad. Fire hole, 40 feet. Fire falls. Is that in Yellowstone? Look it up. Yep. Isn't that where the geyser is? Old Faithful, that's not it, but that's where we are. We'll be watching Old Faithful shortly. You'll notice it's much different than it is now. You can't get that close, and it's much different. That's because of the number of people going there. Old Faithful geyser, you can see there's no protection. He just sat around and watched it, see? And then it will, when it comes time, it'll come popping out of there. We waited for her quite a while. There she goes. There she goes. That's it, folks. I forget the time, but it's pretty faithful. I think there's all fences and stands around it now. Too bad. Take something away from it. But people don't behave. This was on our way out, and Doug got up pretty close to that elk and got a snapshot. I don't know where it is, but this one decided to, that's the elk, that decided to go across the river, but before that he kind of went after Brad. Brad had to run for the car. He was going across the river, and on the other side's a female, and that's where he's headed. Again, this is our second trip with the kids cross country with Brad and Doug. We went to New Orleans and zigzagged across the country, seeing almost everything we did the first time and a little bit more. Wherever Beartooth Pass is, we were there. Some more dwellings. I think this was in New Mexico. I forget the name of the place. Because we stopped to see my sister Ruth, who lives there now. There's our rig. That's my cousin Ed Dorsey, we went to visit. He saw in the first films, this is his jacuzzi in the backyard, and on his back deck. Lived right close to the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful, beautiful home. He sold it shortly, there's the jacuzzi, sold it shortly afterwards for over $100,000, I don't know, $200,000. He had purchased a boat just before we got there, and this was his first time on it, and this fellow was showing him how to run it. There's Doug, there he is, Ed Dorsey. That's, oh gosh, this is back in the 30s. That's my mother. This is 40s. I think it was when I came home from the Navy. Is it? Yeah. The war was over, and all the guys were out, or getting out. This is not before, this is not after the war, this is before the war. This is 1943, maybe. Jack Keenan's on the right, Helen O'Neill, or Catherine O'Neill, across the street neighbors, my cousin Ruth and her brother Jack, my mother, my sister, in front of 9395 Harmony Street. This Joe O'Neill, friend of mine, neighbor, and his brother Huey. He was an ensign. Huey was I don't know what he was. That was his sisters across the street. And we are together. We all grew up together. My sister, Ruth, and Catherine, my mother next to me, and Mrs. O'Neill next to, between her sons. She had 4 or 5 kids, or more, 6. 3 boys and 3 girls, I think it was. And that fellow, I think his name was Pellegrini on the right, he was a master sergeant. Jack Keenan on the left, Huey O'Neill, Joe O'Neill, the ensign. Jack and myself, Jack in the middle, myself on the right. I think that's John Kovacs. Yes, it is, and that's his daughter Peggy, and Ruth Keenan Kovacs. That's my godchild. That's in front of 9395 Harmony Street, where I grew up. Man, we went right back on this film. I was never that thin again. I haven't seen Peggy Kovacs in 40, 50 years. That's Ruth Keenan Kovacs. We're going upstairs to my aunts and uncle's houses. My uncle, this is one of my uncle's films, Uncle Ed, and he took 50 foot of these Messerschmitts that were shot down in Africa during the war, and I just cut it out, just a few. That's my sister in the background, Huey O'Neill on the right, and Jack Keenan and myself. Jack, of course, is my cousin. First cousin, my father. Huey was a paper boy. He owned one of the largest paper routes in the city of Bridgeport. And on Sundays, I used to get up at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning to go down to town to pick up the papers in the truck. And he and his 2 brothers, myself, and another fellow, He used to deliver papers all Sunday morning up until 9 or 10 o'clock. That's how big a root he had. My dad, my Uncle Ed, with his light meter strung from his head, and my sister Ruth. Same group. You notice he folded papers the old-fashioned way. Many times we just threw them up on the porch. My dad loved to take pictures of ornaments. I don't know why he did that a lot. That was Jack's insignia. What he took on my arm was my sharpshooter's badge.